changed before I knew the reason. The light went just a little soft, the way it does between the seasons. I didn't stop what I was doing, just noticed, let it be. The kind of change that doesn't ask, it just arrives quietly. A stillness came before it, the way a held breath does. Not warning, not demanding, just the pause before, because I've learned to feel these arrivals without needing them to name. Something's coming, something's here, and either way it's fine the same. A quiet arrival, no announcement, no fanfare. A quiet arrival, just a shift inside the air. Something opening ahead, something settling behind. A quiet arrival is the gentlest kind of finding out what's on its way. A quiet arrival, just that. I stood there for a moment, not to wait, just to receive whatever it was bringing. I was ready to believe. Some things don't need welcoming, they're already on their way. A quiet arrival finds you wherever you are, in whatever kind of day. A quiet arrival, no announcement, no fanfare. A quiet arrival, just a shift inside the air. Something opening ahead, something settling behind. The quiet arrival is the gentlest kind of finding out what's on its way. A quiet arrival, just that. I used to brace for change, tighten up against the new. But something that arrives this quietly doesn't need you to just stand in the open. Let the air do what it does. A quiet arrival was already here before I knew it was. A quiet arrival, still coming, still here, still soft, just arriving.
Nothing is asking anything of me. The hour just sits there open. I haven't moved in a while, and the while has been good. Something settled in my chest without my noticing. The way a room gets warmer while you're reading. I've been somewhere else for weeks, just behind my own eyes. Today I'm in my hands, in the weight of just being here. Not returned from anywhere, not heading anywhere either. Just present in the way that presence takes practice. Right here is fine. not arrived, not in transit. Right here is fine, not the view, just the minute. Something in the staying, something in the still. Right here is fine, was always the quietest thing to find. Right here is fine. Here. I didn't earn this feeling, didn't work my way toward it. It just came when I stopped asking where it was. Some things only show up in the space you leave them. Right here is fine, found me first. I just happened to be still. Right here is fine, not arrived, not in transit. Right here is fine, not the view, just the minute. Something in the staying, something in the still. Right here is fine, was always the quietest thing to find. Right here is fine. Here, not the best day, not the worst, just a day that held me without being asked, the kind that leaves no mark, except the feeling afterward that something was enough without trying to be. Right here, fine, still here, fine, just here.
Thought it would feel smaller, standing next to something this large. But small wasn't what happened, something else came instead. A loosening I didn't expect, like a coat I'd worn too long, finally taken off, not cold, just lighter. I've been holding my dimensions, careful with my edges, making sure I fit inside the space I was given. But something this much larger doesn't need me to be precise. I can be approximate here, soft around the sides. This open feeling didn't come from doing anything. This open feeling came from stopping, letting something bigger hold the space for a while. This open feeling is what happens when you finally stop deciding how much room you take. This open feeling, just this. didn't disappear and it didn't lose the edges of myself. Just wore them differently, the way water finds its shape. Not performing any smallness, not performing any size. Just here in the open feeling of being approximate and fine. This open feeling didn't come from doing anything. This open feeling came from stopping, letting something bigger hold the space for a while. This open feeling is what happens when you finally stop deciding how much room you take. This open feeling, just this. I've spent a lot of time trying to be the right size for the rooms I was in, for the people in them. But out here in the open, there's no room to get wrong. This open feeling has no walls to measure yourself against. This open feeling, still here, still soft, still open, just this.
I don't know where it comes from, only that it does. Only that it finds me in the middle of because. I used to ask the direction, now I just feel the weight. The way it moves through everything is reason enough to wait. There's an intelligence in moving that I can't quite explain. Not forward and not backward, just the motion of the thing. Like a conversation shifting before a word is said. The way it moves already knows what's coming up ahead. The way it moves through the room without a name. The way it moves through the different and the same. Not asking to be followed, not asking to be known. The way it moves is the only kind of compass I trust anymore. The way it moves, just that. I've stopped trying to predict it, stopped reading it for signs. Just let it pass across me like a thought between the lines. Some things carry information in the way they move alone. The way it moves through everything is how I find my way back home. The way it moves through the room without a name. The way it moves through the different and the same. Not asking to be followed, not asking to be known. The way it moves is the only kind of compass I trust anymore. The way it moves. just that. Not the destination, not the distance to be covered, just the particular quality of how the thing moves through. I've been lost in better places than the ones I planned to find. The way it moves was always the direction I was looking for all along. The way it moves, still moving, still here, just this. The way it moves.
I've held things until they change shape, until they stop being what they were. Pressed too hard against a feeling, trying to make it stay longer. There's a difference between holding and the thing that holding does. One keeps and one just carries, and I've been mixing up the two. A conversation I kept revisiting wore its smooth in places, like a stone you turn too often loses what made it interesting. I put it down last Tuesday, not dramatically glee, just down, and it was still there in the morning, exactly where I left it on the ground, holding loosely, like a name you almost say, holding loosely, like a season on its way, not gripping what might leave, not pushing what might stay. Holding loosely is the only way I've found to keep the things worth keeping. Holding loosely, just this. I used to think that caring meant the tightness in my hands. Now I know the open palm is how you understand. What wants to stay will stay, what needs to go will find its way. Holding loosely isn't letting go, it's trusting what you're holding knows the way. Holding loosely, like a name you almost say, holding loosely, like a season on its way, not gripping what might leave, not pushing what might stay. Holding loosely is the only way I've found to keep the things worth keeping. Holding loosely, just this. My hands have learned a softness that my chest is still catching up to. The letting go of holding is its own kind of holding, not absence, not just the faith in what remains when you stop pressing hard enough to leave a mark, holding loosely. Still here, still soft, still holding just loosely. Just this.
There's a particular quality to being the only one, not lonely in the usual sense, just singular, like a note held long enough to hear what's in it, the space around a person when the room goes quiet. I filled silences my whole life with something that resembled sound, not because silence scared me, just because I hadn't found the version of myself that's comfortable taking up the quiet, wide open and not waiting for someone else to fill it. Wide open, not empty, just unoccupied. Wide open, room enough for what's inside. Not lonely in the absence, not crowded in the full. Wide open is what I am when I stop performing what I'm not. Wide open, just this. I used to carry people with me, voices I'd collected, so the white parts wouldn't feel so wide. But somewhere in the carrying, I forgot to just arrive. Wide open on my own is its own kind of alive. Wide open, not empty, just unoccupied. Wide open, room enough for what's inside. Not lonely in the absence, not crowded in the full. Wide open is what I am when I stop performing what I'm not. Wide open, just this. The wideness isn't something that happens to you alone. It's the feeling of your edges finally finding room to roam, not expanding into nothing, just into what was always there. Wide open was the one thing I'd been keeping from myself. Wide open, still here, still mine, still open, just wide, just this.
I can feel it in the room, not arriving, not departing, just moving through. The kind of thing you notice at the edge of what you see, there and then not there, in the way that crossing leaves. I've chased too many crossings, turned to watch them go, named them before they'd finished being what they were. This time I just let it move across without a word. Something crossing quietly is better left unheard. Something crossing through the space between the breaths. Something crossing through the almost and the yes. Not mine to stop or follow, not mine to understand. Something crossing leaves the air a little different than it was before it came. Something crossing, just that. There's a particular kind of peace in watching without reaching, and being the still point while the moving thing moves through. I didn't become the crossing, didn't get swept along, just watched it from the place I was, and that was more than enough. Something crossing through the space between the breaths. Something crossing through the almost and the yes. Not mine to stop or follow, not mine to understand. Something crossing leaves the air a little different than it was before it came. Something crossing, just that. Maybe everything is crossing all the time through everything, and what we call the standing still is just the choosing what to feel. Not the absence of the motion, just the stillness in the one who watches something crossing and lets it come undone. Something crossing, still moving, still here, still crossing, just passing through.
Nothing is happening exactly, just the afternoon in me. The particular quality of this light, the way it falls across the floor. But something in the body knows before the mind is caught up yet. This is one of those I won't forget. Not because it's beautiful, though it might be that. Not because it's rare, it's actually quite small. Just ordinary enough to slip right past the guard. The ones that stay the longest never tried that hard. I'll remember this, not for any reason I can name. I'll remember this, the unremarkable, the plain. Something in the texture of an afternoon like this. I'll remember this long after I've forgotten what I thought was worth remembering. I'll remember this, just this. I've forgotten brighter moments, ones I try to keep, photographed and written down, still couldn't make them stay. But this one I'm not holding, not framing, not preserving, just letting it be what it is, and somehow that's the thing. I'll remember this, not for any reason I can name. I'll remember this, the unremarkable, the plain. Something in the texture of an afternoon like this. I'll remember this long after I've forgotten what I thought was worth remembering. I'll remember this, just this. Memory doesn't ask permission, doesn't care about the grand. It finds the small unguarded moments, slips right through your hand into somewhere you can't locate until it surfaces again. I'll remember this without knowing why, until the why no longer matters and the memory remains. I'll remember this, still here, still this, still mine. I'll remember just this.
I've been intervening in the natural order of things, adjusting before they've settled, deciding before they've begun. There's a version of helpful that's really just afraid of what might happen if you let the thing just be. I watched a conversation find its way without me, said less than I usually would, and it arrived somewhere better. The silence I didn't fill did something I couldn't have just let it, and it knew what to do. Just let it find its own way through. Just let it do what it needs to do. Not every gap needs filling, not Not every pause needs sound. Just let it and discover what arrives when you're not in the way. Just let it, just that. Fixes before the breaking's done, before the thing has had the chance to hold itself together. Some things need the falling to find out what they are. Just let it is the hardest thing and the softest. Just let it find its own way through. Just let it do what it needs to do. Not every gap needs filling. Not every pause needs sound. Just let it and discover what arrives when you're not in the way. Just let it, just that. The things I've held together with the effort of my hands were never mine to hold. I just hadn't understood that letting go of fixing is its own kind of care. Just let it was the most I ever gave to anything that needed me to leave it there. Just let it, still here, still soft. Just letting, just this. Let it.
After the crossing, after the arrival, after the open feeling and the holding loose, something stays that isn't quite a feeling, more like the shape a feeling leaves behind. I've been in rooms after the people left them, that particular temperature the air still holds. Not absence exactly, more like presence resting, the way a chair still carries what it held. What remains is quieter than what was there. What remains is softer than the before. Not the thing itself, but the place the thing was. What remains is what the passing left behind, for those who stay to find what remains. Just this. Reach for what has moved. Just notice what it's left me in the space it used to use. A quality of stillness that wasn't there before. What remains is sometimes more than what was there to begin with. quieter than what was there. What remains is softer than the before. Not the thing itself, but the place the thing was. What remains is what the passing left behind, for those who stayed to find what remains. Just this. Everything that passes leaves a different kind of room. Not the room it started in, but the one it opened on its way through. I used to follow everything that moved across my life. Now I just stand in what it left and find it's more than I expected, more than I would have chosen, more than the thing itself ever was.